Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and I have a passion for empowering others to take responsibility for their careers. Yes, I've written several books on owning your career and am loving hosting this podcast. This podcast is for you if you're willing to make a shift to the driver's seat in your career. We feature leaders who inspire, empower, and motivate you for consistent career action for results. Please continue to join us every Sunday when a new episode is released. Let's get into this week's show. Welcome to this week's episode of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It's season 10, listeners, and I'm delighted for today's guest. I have with us the fabulous CEO of Habitat, Carolyn Vermont. Carolyn Vermont, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so happy to be here.
Me too. I've been watching your career for, I'm going to date myself, maybe decades, and I remain a fan, a friend, and I'm excited to learn more about your story. So, well, first of all, tell us about your current role and what you do in that role.
So currently, I'm the CEO for Habitat for Humanity of Coastal Fairfield County. So in my role, I have the opportunity to impact the community along with a couple dozen, actually more than that, 2 to 3 dozen wonderful staff members. And part of our mission is to provide affordable homes for low-income working families. So we recruit families in the coastal Fairfield County area from Bridgeport all the way down to Greenwich, Trumbull, Monroe, Shelton, and once we do our recruitment and a family is eligible to become a future homeowner, they go through about a year-long process, teaching them budgeting, financial literacy, how to be a good neighbor, how to be a homeowner versus having a landlord that you can call when something goes wrong. And then they also help to build their home, their house. You know, they put in some sweat equity hours. So they build alongside our staff and our many volunteers to help build their house. So that's the mission. And, you know, the real rewarding part of the job for me is the day of the closing when I'm able to give a family their keys and say, this is the key. Not just to open the door to your new home, but to open the door to your future. Because a lot of these families ordinarily would not have the opportunity for home ownership. Most of them are not eligible for a mortgage with the bank, but we hold the mortgage. So we offer them a mortgage with no down payment, no interest, and the mortgage never exceeds more than 30% of their household income. And we sell them the houses way below market value. Typically, the houses we build are valued around $300,000, and we'll sell them to a deserving family for a maximum of $180,000. Usually, the average is about $150,000. So a lot of these families, they've been living in substandard housing, paying $1,600, $1,800 a month for rent. And here we're able to give them a brand new house, 3 to 4 bedrooms, their living room, kitchen, dining area, basement, driveway. And the average mortgage, including tax and insurance, you know, is usually around $850 per month.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know why in my head I have like the Publishers Clearinghouse when someone rings your doorbell and you changes your life. I don't know if that's true or not, but I grew up seeing that commercial. Wow, that is, I bet that is so rewarding. My goodness. Oh, wonderful. Well, how does that align to your vision for your career from, childhood? Is that something how does that align? I'm curious.
So as a little girl, I always wanted to be an actress.
Ah, awesome.
And I did do, quite a few years of acting. We had a program in Bridgeport, Connecticut called Youth Bridge that James and Lois Tisdale ran. It was founded by Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward.
Oh,
And so I was involved with that for many years. I was involved with the Playhouse in college, but I've always been attracted to community involvement, social work. And I think it's from growing up, in Jamaica around my mother. My mother was just always involved in the community. She was an entrepreneur,
yeah.
she owned a store, she owned a dance hall. But she just was always giving back to the community, running the 4-H club, and just doing so many community-oriented things. So growing up around that, that was instilled in me, giving back, giving back. So once I, finished grad school, I said, I really do want to get into the social service field. And so that's where it started. I just, fell in love with nonprofit work. And, in the early years, it definitely did not fill my pocket, but it certainly, filled my heart because I just felt really good about the work that I was doing.
Awesome, awesome. That's a wonderful story. My mind is back to your mom owning a dance hall as I'm a fellow Jamaican. I don't know anybody that owned a dance hall. That's pretty cool. So what lessons would you say you have learned over the years that you could share with our audience about really taking ownership of your career? Because let me backtrack. I feel like you're in the driver's seat right now for your career, and I define the driver's seat as being very strategic, intentional, hands-on, deciding what you want to do in your career.
So as far as advice, I would say follow your passion. It's always been important to me to have a job that I enjoy waking up and going to each day. And I think that's very important. Certainly, money is important too, but I don't think I would ever want to be in a position where I'm making a lot of money and just not enjoying the work.
Mm.
So I think following your passion, making sure you take advantage of mentors. I've been very fortunate throughout my life. I've just seemed like I just always had a mentor or two to really guide me and connect me to resources. So now that I'm a little bit older, I make sure that I do the same for others. Folks call on me a lot. Do you know so and so? Or I'm looking for this opportunity. Let me know, if you know of anything. And, so I just try to connect people and just in general, I love networking. It's just something that I love meeting people, finding out what they're doing, seeing how we could collaborate on certain things. So that's my advice. Follow your passion. Select a mentor, seek out a mentor, stay connected, not just socially these days, but also electronically. All these social media platforms, LinkedIn and other social media platforms are very important these days as far as advancing your career.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about the mentors who have guided you along the way, because there's a distinction between mentors and sponsors who open doors for you or, speak your name in rooms that you're not in. How has that played out in your career with the mentoring sponsorship type relationships?
So it's been very helpful in my career. 'Cause most of my mentors that I've had, I've shared my passion with them. So they always knew what path I was interested in following. So, there may have been times when they heard about opportunities that may be a good match for me. And so they'll let me know about it and say, you may want to look into this. If you need to utilize me as a reference, please feel free to do so. call so-and-so, let them know I referred you. And they've been able to give me solid advice also, which is very important. One of the challenges for me is that work-life balance.
Mm.
Sometimes, I overindulge in work. I love working. And so it's always good to have a mentor who will say, listen, self-care is important. If you're going to give, you need to give to yourself too and take care of yourself. So it's always good to listen to that message from my mentors, because sometimes I forget. And, I'm just giving. And, I don't want to ever get to that point where the body just says, listen, time to stop, or I'm going to stop you.
Right.
So, and there may be something that I could be doing better. And, it's good to have a mentor who can just be honest with you and say, you know what, that may not be the best way to handle that situation. I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman, so, I am going to face certain challenges based on my race, based on my gender. And, so I have to be prepared for those challenges and to, be able to work through it.
How do you navigate the challenges or even, let's say a microaggression or a slight that comes up because of your identity in your leadership role? How do you navigate that?
So, there's a lot of preparation. I mean, Fairfield County Community Foundation, they have offered quite a few workshops on, dealing with us CEOs and leaders, nonprofit leaders of color. And, how do we handle white privilege? How do we handle being in white spaces? So, some of the tools that I've been provided with, has been really helpful in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing that although in some instances it's a way of life, I do have the power to make change, if not just for me, certainly for the next generation.
Mm, I love that. You mentioned a little bit earlier in the interview that you love networking. I've come across a lot of coaching clients or a lot of folks who tell me they hate networking and they don't know how to leverage networking in their careers. So, can you talk about to us about maybe tell us a story about how networking has gone well for you and any tips for those who struggle with, you know, opening your mouth when you get into a space that's unfamiliar and maybe uncomfortable for those that don't love networking?
So I think it's part of my Jamaican culture. I love people. I love meeting people. So I'm the type, when I walk into a room, especially in Fairfield County, most of the time I know most of the people, but I may see someone that I don't know. And so I'll go right up to them and I'll tell them, I say, I know just about everybody in this room, but I don't know you. Hi, I'm Carolyn Vermont. Who are you? And, so I'll find out their name, their connection, whether, it's wherever they work professionally or volunteer organizations they're involved with. And, that's usually the start. But I just love meeting people. In my role here as CEO at Habitat Coastal Fairfield County, it's very important that I network, especially to meet funders, those that may want to volunteer at Habitat. So usually when I'm in a setting, it seems like everybody knows about Habitat. As soon as I say Carolyn Vermont, I'm with Habitat, everyone have a Habitat story. Oh, I remember, many years ago, I volunteered. I came in for one of your build days. I helped to build a house. And so I say to them, the opportunity is still there. Would you like to continue with us? Or, sometimes it may be the president of a bank who, may be fairly new. And I'll say, I'd love the opportunity to sit down with you and tell you about habitat and, possibly have you come for a visit so, we can show you some of the work that we're doing, maybe take you to one of our build sites. So it's been very successful in that sense, definitely with funders to let them know who I am, who I represent, the type of work that we do, how it impacts the community and how it changes lives for low income families. So it's been very, very, beneficial for me in my professional life as well as my volunteer life. Right now I serve as the public policy chair for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. So we're always promoting, equity for Black women and Black girls in the area of, health, education, economic development. So again, just meeting lawmakers, I make sure I introduce myself, let them know, who we are, finding out what are you working on? What bills are you thinking about? How does it affect Black women? How does it affect Black girls? Can I get you to come speak, at one of our sessions? And how can we work together? So to me, networking is essential. I've never been shy about it. And it just seems like every connection is an opportunity.
I love that. How do you nurture the relationship? I love that you just put yourself out there and you figure out how to collaborate and connect. How do you nurture it to sustain it?
Yes. So again, life has changed so much. Before we used to just pick up the telephone and call, but now it's LinkedIn, it's Facebook, it's Instagram. So a lot of it is, through those social media platforms. Also, when I meet someone right away, I invite them to join our distribution list so they get the Habitat newsletter, any other, distribution we send out. So they stay informed. And if something I feel that I can connect them with, I make sure I'll send them an email or I will call them and, say, such and such is having something in the community I think, may benefit you to attend. So I try to keep people, once I meet them, once I bring them into my circle, I try to keep them connected, not just to the work that I do, but opportunities also in the community that I think will be beneficial to them.
Awesome. Thank you for that. How have you dealt with risk in your career, like deciding how to take a risk in your career?
So again, it's been about passion. I do remember many years ago, many decades ago, wow, when I was working for the state of Connecticut and making a really good salary. And someone approached me about an opportunity in the nonprofit field. And it was a lot less money than I was making. And I thought about it and, I said, I prayed about it and I said, I'm going to follow my passion. Wasn't sure if it was the right move at the time, but it felt good. It felt like, okay, that's a place that I would love to be. Was an opportunity to, to work with youth, high school students who are interested in, going on to post-secondary education. And so I took that risk. I left my secure job,
Wow.
state with the union. My job is protected, and went to this, nonprofit that was, funded by a grant that, could run out in 3 years down the line. But I just felt like I would feel more fulfilled, working with the young people. And it turned out to be a very good move for me.
Oh, what a great story. I love that. So you said follow your passion, anything else?
Yes, I think, life is just about being happy. And I think, we can't really expect other people to make us happy. We have to create our own happiness. So, when I wake up in the morning, I wake up with a smile. I look forward to my day because I know I'm going to have a great, fulfilling day. That's not to say there won't be issues, there won't be challenges, there won't be obstacles, but that's part of life too. So we just work through it and, just be the best that we can be at whatever we're doing, and also always be ready um, to pull someone up,
Mm,
to teach them everything that you know, to prepare them to be where you are in life. I think that's very important.
mm. What resources have helped you to really move up in your career? Can you recommend any resources that have been helpful to you on your journey?
Right. So, as far as resources, I've been very fortunate because I've been involved so much in so many organizations, so many committees. I've always been aware of the different opportunities that are out there that, may be a fit for me. So, as far as resources, I think probably people have been, my main resources to get me where I am today. That's just been the way I've found out about opportunities. I really haven't had to go online, to find out, what's available out there. I think my involvement just exposed me to so many positive opportunities.
Hmm. So have there been any courses? I know you mentioned before that Fairfield County Foundation has provided some education to support CEOs. Over the years, have there been training classes, memorable training classes, books that have really impacted you as a leader?
So I love to read. I don't think any one particular book, but I think trainings, definitely trainings. I'm on the board of the Council of Churches, so they provide DEI training for us. Fairfield County Community Foundation have provided DEI training. So I think those trainings have been helpful, and I think continuous training, is very helpful also. Because the world is just continuously changing around us. And so what was effective, 2 decades ago, there's probably strategies for it to be even more effective today, or maybe a more efficient way to handle certain things.
Hmm. Hmm. If you were to write a book, Carolyn, about your career body of work, what would the title be?
So I think back about growing up in Jamaica and in my household, and it was always that message: you can be anything you want to be. I'm sure that title is probably already out there somewhere, but that probably would be the title. You can be anything you want to be.
Mm, I love that. So what's next for you?
So I think I'm happy here at Habitat. So I think as far as working professionally, I think this will be my last stop. And, whenever I retire way down the line, then it was more time to even do, even more community work. I love community work. Love working with youth, love working with families, just making an impact in our community, sharing our culture. I'm a vice president for our West Indian American Association of Greater Bridgeport. So, we hold our Jerk Festival every year. So we're just sharing our culture, our food, our music, with the
Mm,
greater community. So I will always stay involved. I don't think I'm one that's, going to retire and go back to Jamaica right away, even though eventually that is my plan, to retire to a Caribbean island, whether it's my homeland of Jamaica or another island. But
Nice.
yes, yes. But I think for now, Habitat is where I plan to be.
Mm. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, sharing more about your story. Can you tell our listeners how to stay connected with you if they'd like to do so?
Certainly, yes. So I am here at Habitat, um, and I'll give you our website, which is habitatcfc.org. So that's habitatcfc.org. And then, for me individually, C Vermont at habitatcfc.org. So that's the best way to stay in touch with me. I'm also on social media, LinkedIn, Carolyn Vermont, Facebook, Carolyn Vermont, Instagram, Carolyn Vermont. So I'm happy to connect. If there's anything you feel that I can assist you with, I'm happy to help in any capacity that I can.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, season 10. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I truly enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise, likewise. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this week's empowering career story on the podcast. If you did, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Wherever you listen to the podcast, be sure that you are subscribing and that you rate and review the podcast. It's so important as we continue to spread the word of career empowerment. In addition, you can head over to the LinkedIn platform and join the Power of Owning Your Career discussion group. There you can have access to the guests who have been on the podcast, as well as others listening to the podcast, as well as myself, where we can continue the conversation. I hope to see you on that platform. You can also email me at pooyc@simonemorris.com if you have a suggestion for guest or a message that you want me to hear personally. Thanks so much, and make it an inspiring, empowering week in your career.